Talk with INCODA. I'm your host, India Wilson. Today we will be interviewing the beautiful and lovely Coletta Renee. Coletta is a humanitarian, veteran, and musician. Coletta, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well.
Could you please share a little bit about yourself with everyone?
Well, I started my musical journey as a child listening to various artists, anywhere from Cat Stevens, believe it or not, to Smokey Robinson, to Jesse Norman. The range of musicians that I listened to, or vocalists, were quite wide. And then I started to learn how to play the guitar from my grandfather very early on, and then I had an interest in playing the piano. So those are some of the instruments that I've sort of reconnected with, because at some point I put those things down and ventured out here and went into the military. Well, got married first, and went into the military, and then started my civilian life. That was one thing. Another title is humanitarian. I've been a part of many different AIDS walks, diabetes, cancer walks, since I was probably between 12 and 15 years old. Started with church, and then I started to get much more involved as I got older. And then, let's see, what was, now I forgot what the third title was. The veteran. Yeah, I did mention I was in the military, but I'm Air Force veteran, U.S. Air Force veteran. And so now a lot of what I do, I guess sort of would be considered humanitarian, is do speaking engagements about PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, and depression. Since I've met a lot of veterans who have experienced, both, and then other forms of mental illness. So somehow those three for me are all connected. The PTSD, depression, musicianship, and then other humanitarian efforts.
So how do you balance the three? How do you balance your professional career?
Prior to actually joining the military, my best friend, who is no longer with us, she passed on many years ago, but my best friend, who is also my aunt, was only 3 years older than I was. As soon as I enlisted, about a week later, because there was a wait period between actually taking the test and then joining, and then actually starting basic training.
Like the delayed entry program?
The delayed entry. And so in between that time, my best friend shared with me that she was HIV positive. And so that was so long ago. The only person that I had known, I guess celebrity, that was HIV positive was the actor Rock Hudson. And so just to let you know how long ago that was, I think that was in the late 80s or early 90s. And so that certainly came as a major blow to me, because I didn't know that much about it. All I knew was she's going to die. That's, because there wasn't as much information available, at the time. So I had already enlisted, so there was no turning back. There was no, oh, well, I just found out that my best friend is HIV positive. But what was more disturbing is the person who infected her, and it was her husband. And so both of them were very much a part of my childhood, and all of us are very, very close. They were always very protective, and so my immediate thought was, they're both going to die. So I went from AIDS walks, cancers walk, diabetes walks, to now this is on my front step, this is on my front door. And immediately I felt like I was having a panic attack, to hear something about, the person that you literally grew up with, and this guy that she had been dating before being very much a part of our family, the two of them dying. But even more traumatizing for me was the fact that he was the one that infected her. Still today, people assume that HIV and AIDS is transmitted through homosexual activity, and that's absolutely not true. And so that was one reason why I started to get re-involved in those efforts, because towards the end she also had cancer and just a whole host of things. As I learned, her immune system was almost non-existent, and so there were a whole host of things by the end. But I was literally there to hear her take her last breath in the hospice home. I think the depression started very shortly after that, because not only did she pass away, within 6 months I lost 5 or 6 other relatives. So it seemed that literally every month I was sitting in the same seat at the same church looking at a casket. So that was pretty traumatizing.
Yes, I can understand that.
And so at the time when you're going through all those things, I'm not a religious person at all, but I'm very spiritual, and I always felt like I've had a relationship with God. And really my only question at the time was, why me? Why am I going through all of this? What is the purpose of me going to a funeral for loved ones, for family members? And I come from such a large family, on both sides, that these were people that it wasn't like it was these were distant relatives, going to those funerals. But over time, going through the many ups and downs that depression will bring, everywhere from the questions, why me, why is all of this happening, am I next, to suicidal thoughts, to just a whole range of emotions, and then seeking help, because it's beyond the I think 2-week time frame. I've heard that psychologists or mental health professionals will give you between feeling blue and, okay, now this is the problem. And so it lasted for so long, it just felt like there's a whole period of my life where I just don't remember. It was just that cloudy because so many people passed away.
So did you reach out to the military or the civilian world for help?
The military. I never even thought about going to the civilian world because military was so familiar, to me. And one thing I can say is, if anyone is dealing with something that they just cannot seem to wrap their heads around, or is so traumatizing that you've gone beyond the point of feeling blue. It's like you can't get out of bed, you just don't feel motivated to do anything, is to seek professional help. That's what they're there for. I've had people, over the years to say, well, maybe you should just go to church. Well, I was going to church and didn't feel any different after leaving. I really needed to sit down and talk to someone about, how do I cope with death? So I sought military professional help, sat down and talked to quite a few therapists, because anyone who has talked to a therapist, it's almost like, I don't want to say finding the perfect mate, but it sort of is, because you have human beings sitting across a table from you or across a desk from you, and they're human beings first. So some of their thoughts are just like yours. You know, is this person going to judge me because I'm white? Is this person going to judge me because I'm a male? Are they going to judge me because I'm a female? What is this person's immediately thought of me? So I've heard a wide range of questions to, how do you feel sitting down with me and I'm a white female, for instance? Do you think you'll be able to connect? Well, at that point, I could have cared less if the person was a Martian. Really, you know, if at that point you're desperate, you need help. You know, you don't want to feel like, you know, you don't want to be in that place anymore. And church was not doing it for me. There were a lot of religious people in church that were very judgmental, and it was not a safe place for me to go to and actually sit down and talk to someone about, this isn't going away. This feeling is not going away. I still miss these loved ones. I miss my grandmother. I miss my aunts. I miss, you know, an uncle. I miss this person and that person. It's just not going away. So there's such a negative stigma that's attached to depression and PTSD and some of the other mental illnesses. But I sort of liken it to, I wouldn't walk around with a broken bone and expect to, with a broken foot, for instance, and expect for someone to just simply put a Band-Aid over it. You know, I actually needed to heal. I needed to go through that process of healing. And so it's the same thing with our minds. You know, sometimes we just cannot wrap our heads around losing someone that close.
Especially so many in so short of a period.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so even though I've never, like for instance, have never been a widow, and I may say, you know, I don't know what it feels like to lose a spouse. I can certainly connect with losing someone that you love so deeply. It just feels like a part of yourself is missing. So, not to stay too long on that subject, but I can certainly relate to a lot of people who have lost loved ones and who are not able to cope, and the negative labels that are attached to HIV and AIDS, the negative labels that are attached to people in our society that don't seem to fit the norm. And so I have an enormous amount of compassion for people in general. You know, sometimes we look at others and we think, well, they seem to be okay. I mean, they look fine to me. You know, they seem like they're outgoing, they seem to be laughing, they seem to be normal, whatever that means. But behind all of that, all of us have a story.
Oh, yes.
All of us. And for
Coletta, I hear that you have a rescue dog. Could you tell us how your rescue dog has helped you in your healing process?
My dog is wonderful. I was actually raised with pets, so I've always had, well, around my family, we've had a Great Dane, we've had which look like little miniature horses, but we've had German Shepherd, Doberman Pinscher, all sorts of pets. And I always said that I would never get a pet because I always had pets growing up. And I said that because there are a lot of responsibility. But after going through, like I said, a few traumatic experiences in my life, I just, again, went back to things from my childhood, like the music, like getting a pet. So I had an idea of what kind of dog I wanted. I didn't want anything that was really high maintenance. And so I Googled a rescue site because I thought, these dogs just need homes. I don't need to have a puppy. And so I found a rescue Maltese and drove to, she was so precious. I had talked to the owner of this rescue site and had to go through an entire interview process where they came to my home. They checked to see if the home was livable, I guess. I don't know, whatever adoption, I guess almost like adopting a child. So I went through that and drove to West Virginia, which was very far from where I lived at the time, and picked my dog up and just fell in love with her instantly. And so she's been wonderful. When I've had colds, she hasn't left my side. I guess she can sense if there's something wrong with me. She won't leave my side. Besides the fact that she's adorable, and she has been like a little angel.
So what is your advice to someone that have went through different types of situation and felt the heartbreak from trauma? What is your advice, and what resources could you recommend to them as far as, not having to deal with the situation alone?
Well, one, I know when we were younger and we experienced traumatic situations in our lives, first, we have to understand that it's not our fault. This is just something that really some of us are just born into, so you can't blame yourself for growing up in a certain neighborhood or being a part of a certain family. I've never experienced child molestation, but I've talked to plenty of people who have been molested, and just the heartbreak, that they've experienced trusting someone. So it certainly is not their fault. As an adult, I would say, clear out all the clutter from around you, with people telling you that only crazy people seek professional help, or you don't need to seek this, or you don't need to seek that. If you're hurting, go sit down and talk to a professional. This is not sitting around talking to your friends, gossiping, and or getting unwarranted or unsolicited advice from people, or from people that are not professionals. Everybody has an opinion. It doesn't mean that it's going to help you. And so that would be the second thing. The first thing is recognizing that it's not your fault, that you were raised in this or born into something. Some people are born into total chaos. The second thing is seeking professional help. When you start to say, something doesn't feel right, I'm just too sad. The third thing and the final, I would say, if you don't believe in God, and not everybody believes in God, to have faith in something that's going to better you, so that you can be better for everyone out here. And so that would be my advice.
And because you do believe in God, do you feel or know that has helped you to recover a lot faster, or stay on the positive journey?
Absolutely. I would say having a relationship with God more so than anything else.
Yes.
Because I was exposed to church, as a child, and we went every Sunday and read the Bible, and I was involved in a lot of church activities. But after a while, those things just can become, you do these things religiously. You go to church religiously, you participate in this, you participate in that, but if there is no relationship, if a child isn't taught, very early on, you can pray to God just like I can. You can ask God for things just like I can. He's my Father and yours. And all He wants to do is bless you. All He wants to do is love you. He loves you more than I do, And so certainly, my relationship with God, coupled with therapy, helped me to become a better mother, helped me to become a better friend, even to my ex-husband. We have a great relationship today, and he's since married, remarried, and I'm actually very happy for him, but we have a great co-parenting relationship, and I respect his wife and his union, but thank God for therapy, really. I love the Lord. He heard my cries and pitied every groan. Long as I live and troubles rise, I'll hasten to His throne. Give us this day our daily bread. You said you would supply all my needs according to your riches. I have but to ask, and I shall receive to go from here and share this love you gave to me, to show someone who's lost and help them find their way to the way to truth and faith, so they can be free like me. Thank you for watching Real Talk with INCODA. This is Coletta, Renee.